starting to resent my BF for not even thinking about marriage almost 3 years in. I am a 31-year-old woman who has been in a relationship with my boyfriend, a 29-year-old man, for nearly 3 years. At first glance, it might seem like the perfect relationship. We share laughter, support each other's dreams, and have a bond that feels rare and valuable in a world that often prioritizes convenience over connection. But as the years have ticked by, a shadow of uncertainty has started to linger over us, one that I can no longer ignore. My boyfriend, as wonderful as he is in so many ways, is a man who thrives on the status quo. He is passive, sometimes maddeningly so, and seems to approach life with a cautious hesitancy that can be both endearing and exasperating. In his defense, it's not entirely his fault. He's a kind soul, one who shies away from confrontation and overthinks even the smallest decisions. But when it comes to the idea of marriage, his passivity feels like an immovable wall between us, and I've found myself standing at the base of it, wondering if I'll ever climb over or if I'll have to turn away altogether. It's not that he doesn't love me, of that, I'm certain. His love is evident in the way he holds my hand when we walk, how he cheers me on through every challenge, and how he remembers even the smallest details about me. But love, as deep and genuine as it may be, isn't always enough. The thought of marriage, with all its societal and personal implications, seems to paralyze him. The very notion of planning a proposal or a wedding fills him with so much anxiety that he can barely entertain the idea. And yet, here I am, waiting for something that may never come. When we first started dating, I was upfront about my expectations. I told him, plainly and honestly, that I don't believe in dating for endless years without the commitment of marriage. To me, a relationship without a clear trajectory isn't just a waste of time, it's a missed opportunity to build a life together. I explained that I wanted to start building wealth and planning for the future as partners, not just as two individuals who happen to share a lease and some happy memories. I didn't say this to pressure him, but rather to set a boundary for myself. I've always believed that if you're serious about someone, you should know within 2 years whether you want to spend your life with them. After all, 2 years is enough time to see someone's quirks, navigate disagreements, and understand the compatibility of your goals. I told him that I wasn't willing to wait longer than 2 years for a proposal. Not because I wanted to rush things, but because I refused to waste my life on uncertainty. To me, if someone doesn't know after 2 years, they're either not ready or not interested enough, and either way, that's a deal breaker. But I also made it clear that I didn't want a wedding. It wasn't the idea of marriage that scared me, but the pageantry of it. The thought of spending tens of thousands of dollars on a single day when we could be investing in our future felt absurd. I didn't want the stress of planning or the debt that often comes with it. I wanted the security of a marriage, not the spectacle of a wedding. I wanted the legal protections and the societal recognition that come with being married, especially as we're about to embark on new chapters in our lives. We're both at a pivotal moment. He just finished graduate school, and I'm close to completing my own education. We're standing on the brink of our careers, ready to take our first real steps into the adult world. But for me, those steps feel incomplete without the foundation of a committed partnership. I've always believed that major life decisions, like where to live or what jobs to take, should be made as a team. Yet, how can I factor my relationship into these decisions when I don't even know if we're heading toward the same future? I don't want to give him an ultimatum. It feels cruel and manipulative to demand, propose, or I'm leaving. But at the same time, I can't ignore the fact that my patience is wearing thin. It's not just about wanting a proposal, it's about what the lack of one represents. He knew, from the very beginning, that this was important to me. He knew that I was serious about marriage and that I wouldn't wait forever. And yet, here we are, 3 years later, still circling the same question. What hurts the most is the feeling that he's willing to risk losing me because of his own fears and indecision. It's not that I don't understand his anxiety, I do. Proposals, weddings, and the societal expectations that come with them can be overwhelming. But if he truly loved me, Wouldn't he find a way to push past that? Wouldn't he see that the risk of losing me is far greater than the discomfort of facing his fears? I find myself questioning everything. Is it fair to stay in a relationship where I feel like I'm constantly waiting for someone to meet me halfway? Can I build a future with someone who seems content to stand still while I'm ready to move forward? And if he's not willing to take this step for us, what does that say about the strength of our relationship? These thoughts swirl in my mind, relentless and unyielding. I love him, I truly do. But love, as beautiful and powerful as it is, doesn't always mean forever. And as I stand at this crossroads, I can't help but wonder if our paths are meant to diverge. For everyone asking why I didn't just walk out the door right at the 2-year mark, I feel like I need to clarify something. It wasn't some ironclad rule, as though I had drawn a hard line in the sand that I couldn't cross. It wasn't about needing a proposal exactly 2 years in. It was about something much bigger than that, something that feels hard to explain to people who don't know me, or us, or the complexities of relationships. When I told him, at the very beginning, that I wasn't willing to date for years without the commitment of marriage, it wasn't a casual statement. It was a reflection of my values, my goals, and what I wanted out of life. It was me being upfront and honest about my needs, so there would be no misunderstandings or mismatched expectations down the line. It was never about putting a ticking clock on our love or issuing an ultimatum. It was about ensuring we were aligned from the start. The 2-year timeline was more of a guideline than a strict deadline. It wasn't me saying, marry me or else. It was me saying, after 2 years, we should have a pretty good idea of where this is going. 2 years, to me, feels like enough time to know if you're serious about someone, serious enough to see them as a partner for life. It's enough time to weather some storms, to see each other at your best and your worst, and to understand whether your visions for the future are compatible. I know some people are okay with dating for 5, 7, even 10 years before making that leap, and that's great for them. Truly, it is. But that's not who I am, and that's not the kind of relationship I've ever wanted. To me, marriage is about more than love. It's about partnership, stability, and building a shared future. It's about standing together and saying, we are a team, in every way that matters. And without that foundation, I don't know how to plan the rest of my life. I gave us some grace after 2 years. Maybe more than I should have. I didn't want to walk away from something so good, from someone I love so much, just because the timeline wasn't perfect. It wasn't about the 2 years, it was about what those 2 years represented. They were supposed to be the time we spent building towards something, the time we used to figure out whether we were truly ready to make that commitment. And yet, here we are, nearly a year past that point, and I still don't have the clarity I need. The longer we go without having that conversation, the more uncertain I feel. Not just about him, but about us. About what we're doing, and whether we're even on the same page anymore. Sometimes, I wonder if I should have been firmer from the start. If I had made it clear that the 2-year mark wasn't just a suggestion, but a boundary I needed to stick to for my own peace of mind, would things be different now? Or would I have lost him entirely? These questions haunt me, looping endlessly in my mind. They creep into quiet moments and gnaw at me when I'm trying to focus on other things. I try to remind myself that relationships aren't always linear. That people move at their own pace, and sometimes love requires patience. But patience has its limits, and mine is starting to wear thin. There's a part of me that feels like I'm betraying myself by staying, by waiting, by hoping for something that might never come. And then there's the fear that if I bring this up again, if I push too hard, I'll drive him away. I'll confirm every worry he's ever had about relationships being too much pressure or too complicated. I don't want to be the person who pushes someone into a corner and forces them to choose between fight or flight. But at the same time, how long can I keep compromising my own needs to protect his? In the quiet moments, when we're lying together on the couch or walking hand in hand through the park, it's easy to forget all of this. It's easy to get lost in the comfort of him, in the way he makes me feel safe and loved. But then the doubts creep back in. Because love isn't supposed to feel like waiting. It's not supposed to feel like this endless limbo, where every day feels like a step forward and a step back at the same time. I don't want to be the kind of person who walks away from something good just because it's not perfect. But I also don't want to be the kind of person who stays in something that isn't enough, hoping it will eventually turn into what I need it to be. I've tried to give him space. I've tried to be understanding. But every time I bring it up, the conversation seems to stall. He gets overwhelmed, shuts down, and says he just needs more time. And I tell myself to be patient, to wait, to trust that he'll come around. But how much more time can I give him before I start losing myself in the process? It's not just about the 2 years. It's about everything those years represent. The time we've shared, the love we've built, and the future I thought we were working toward. And the more I think about it, the more I wonder if I'm holding on to a dream that only I believe in. Some people have asked me if I even like him or if he's just Mr. Good enough. Honestly, that question stung more than I expected. It made me pause and reevaluate, not because I doubt my feelings for him, but because it forced me to confront the way our relationship might look from the outside. And the truth is, yes, I do like him. More than like him. I love him deeply, in ways that are hard to put into words. In ways that make me believe he's not just good enough, but the person I chose to build a life with. The list of reasons why I love him is too long to post, and frankly, I don't think it would matter to anyone who doesn't know us personally. But I'll try to paint a picture of the man I've spent these past 3 years with, the man who, despite his flaws and hesitations, I still see as my partner, my teammate, and my home. He has this quiet kindness about him, the kind that isn't flashy or performative but deeply sincere. It's in the way he notices when I'm stressed and leaves little notes of encouragement for me to find. It's in the way he remembers my favorite snacks or makes sure I have my favorite tea when I'm feeling down. He's thoughtful in ways that might seem small to others but mean everything to me. He listens, truly listens, even when I'm rambling about something inconsequential, and he never makes me feel like my thoughts or feelings are unimportant. And then there's his sense of humor, dry, clever, and perfectly in sync with mine. He knows how to make me laugh, even on my worst days, and that kind of connection is something I've never taken for granted. It's not just about the jokes, it's about the way he makes life feel lighter, even when things are hard. I'm a fiercely independent person. Always have been. I've never been the type to stay in a relationship out of convenience or fear of being alone. If I'm with someone, it's because I'm absolutely crazy about them, and I don't let just anyone into my life like that. So when I say I love him, I mean it with every fiber of my being. I wouldn't still be here if I didn't. But sometimes, love isn't enough. That's a thought I've been wrestling with more and more lately, and it terrifies me. Because what if it's true? What if love, no matter how deep and genuine, can't bridge the gap between what we want out of life? What if all the kindness, humor, and connection in the world can't make up for the fact that we're stuck in different places, moving at different speeds? It's not a question of whether he's Mr. Good enough. I know he's more than that. I know he's someone I could grow old with, someone who would stand by me through the highs and lows of life. But what if that's not enough to overcome the very real challenges we're facing? What if the love we have isn't enough to carry us through the hurdles we've yet to face? I don't want to think that way. I want to believe that love can conquer anything, that the connection we share is strong enough to withstand the pressures of life. But I've seen too many couples fall apart despite loving each other deeply. Love is a foundation, yes, but it's not the entire structure. You need trust, communication, shared goals, and a willingness to grow together. And that's where I find myself questioning things, not because I doubt his love for me, but because I wonder if he's ready to build that structure with me. He's the kind of person who sees the world in shades of gray, who takes time to think things through and weigh every possibility. And while that's one of the things I admire about him, it's also one of the things that drives me crazy. Because life doesn't always wait for you to figure everything out. Sometimes, you have to take a leap of faith, even when you're scared, even when you're unsure. And I'm starting to worry that he'll never be ready to take that leap with me. I hate feeling like I'm caught between two truths, that I love him more than I've ever loved anyone, and that love alone might not be enough to keep us together. It feels like a betrayal to even think that way, but I can't ignore the doubts that have been creeping in. I want to believe that we can make it work. That the love we share is strong enough to weather the storm of uncertainty. But I also know that hope isn't a strategy. We need more than just love to move forward. We need action, commitment, and a shared vision for the future. And right now, I don't know if he's ready to give me those things. So no, he's not Mr. Good enough. He's the person I've chosen, the person I want to spend my life with. But sometimes, wanting something isn't enough. Sometimes, you have to face the reality that love, as powerful as it is, doesn't always guarantee a happy ending. That's what I'm trying to hold on to, the hope that we can figure this out together. That our love isn't just a feeling but a force that can propel us forward, past the fear and uncertainty, toward a future we both believe in. But if that hope starts to fade, if I find myself holding on to something he's not willing to fight for, I'll have to make the hardest decision of my life, to let go of the person I love and trust that it's the right thing to do for both of us. Thank you, truly, for all the thoughtful responses. Reading through them has been a bit overwhelming, but in the best way possible. It's amazing how people, complete strangers, have taken the time to share their perspectives, insights, and support. It's helped me unpack so many things I wasn't even fully aware I was carrying. I've realized this isn't just about him proposing or not. It's about why I've been waiting for him to make that move instead of taking the reins myself. I think, deep down, I've been holding on to this idea that the proposal has to come from him because that's what society tells us is normal. The man proposes, the woman says yes. It's a narrative so deeply ingrained that I never even questioned it until now. But here's the thing, I'm not traditional in most aspects of my life. I've built my career on my terms, fought for my independence, and carved out a life that feels authentically mine. So why should I cling to this one tradition as if it's the only way forward? Maybe I've been so focused on waiting for him to propose because I wanted the reassurance that he's choosing me, unprompted and unpressured. But that's not entirely fair to him, or to us. Relationships are partnerships, not power struggles. And if I'm waiting for him to take the leap, maybe he's waiting for me to meet him halfway. I've decided I'm going to talk to him about it, really talk, not just drop hints or dance around the subject. I want to approach it with openness and humor, not as an interrogation or a test. We've built this relationship on a foundation of love and trust, and I owe it to both of us to be honest about what I'm feeling and what I need. The responses here have also helped me see the bigger picture of why marriage is so important to me. It's not about the romance of it, it's about the practical, tangible benefits that come with it. As many of you pointed out, there are so many legal advantages to being married. For us, that's especially relevant. I have dual citizenship, and if we ever wanted to move to my other country, being married would make the process significantly easier for him. On top of that, my career is in academia, where spousal hires are a common practice. Universities often accommodate partners by offering them positions or funding if one spouse is hired. If we're married, that could be a huge advantage for us, especially since academia isn't exactly known for its abundance of job opportunities. Marriage isn't just a romantic ideal for me, it's a practical step that aligns with the life we're trying to build together. So, here's the plan. I'm going to sit him down and have a real conversation about this. I'm going to tell him how I feel, why this matters to me, and what I hope for our future. And if that conversation leads to us making a decision together, whether that means he proposes, I propose, or we both decide to wait a little longer, I'll feel better knowing we're on the same page. At the end of the day, I don't want to pressure him or make him feel like he's failing me. I love him too much for that. But I also love myself enough to know that I deserve clarity and commitment, whatever that looks like for us. For the first time in months, I feel a sense of peace about this whole situation. Maybe it's because I've finally given myself permission to let go of the timeline I was clinging to. Maybe it's because I've realized that love, real love, doesn't always follow a script. Or maybe it's because I know, deep down, that whatever happens next, we'll figure it out together. Thank you again, everyone. Your responses have been a lifeline, a reality check, and a reminder that even in the chaos of the internet, there are kind, thoughtful people who genuinely want to help. I'll keep you posted on how the conversation goes, but for now, I'm holding on to hope for our future, hope for our love, and hope that we can create a life that's as beautiful and messy and imperfectly ours as the journey that brought us here.